Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, July 24th. We are coming off yet another record close this morning after all three major indices ended in the green yesterday. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ hit record territory with the Dow not far behind. The S&P 500 advanced 49 points or more than 0.75%. The NASDAQ climbed 127 points or 0.61%. The Dow gained 507 points or 1.14%. Bill, let's get into Thursday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're higher. I mean, we're flat. I mean, we were flat to lower, down 0.02, but now we're higher. We're up 0.08%. So, almost a tenth of 1%. So we're, heading again in positive direction. That's kind of nice to see. And, there's a host of catalysts going on today. I mean, you got corporate earnings. That's a big one. You got a possible announcement about a U.S.-EU trade deal. That's really, on the airwaves today. And, then there's the ECB announcement that could be happening, that's expected to happen this morning. They're going to be leaving rates unchanged is what's expected. Later in the day, President Trump is going to be going over to the Federal Reserve. He's going to monitor their renovation project. No, he's not. He's going to use the opportunity to criticize Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. That's really what it's about. Lawmakers subpoenaed J.P. Morgan and Bank of America over the Chinese battery IPO. Lawmakers are also asking the Department of Defense for data on that data that Microsoft shared with Chinese engineers. They're a little concerned about that. Next week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he's going to be in Stockholm. He's going to be meeting with Chinese officials for another round of trade talks. Key economic data point today: new home sales. That's going to be a big one. I don't think the jobless claim is going to be that crazy, but we'll see. On the earnings front, Google's ServiceNow, LH, TMUS, URI, they're all trading higher after their earnings releases. CMG, Dow, Honeywell, IBM, Tesla, they're trading lower. After the bell today, you get earnings releases from BYD, DECK, Deckers Outdoor, EW, Edwards Life Sciences, MHK, Mohawk Industries, and Intel, INTC. Turning our attention over to Europe for a moment, and we're taking a look at how the DAX is trading. The DAX is up 111 points, or 0.46%. It was up over 1% at the opening. And it really comes down to that optimism surrounding an agreement between the U.S. and the EU on a trade deal. Then you're taking a look over at the FTSE. The FTSE's up 87 points, or 0.96%. It's being supported by corporate earnings. In France is flat. The CAC is unchanged, essentially. I mean, it was up by, a tenth of a percent. It's down by a tenth of a percent. Now it's kind of flat. Bank stocks are higher on earnings releases. You had some good earnings. French banks came out with some good earnings releases, and the ECB is expected to hold rates steady. So we'll have to see if that does anything when they come out with their release this morning. Then we're turning our attention over to Asia, where we really generally saw green across the board. You're looking at the Nikkei. The Nikkei jumped 1.59%. Remember, it was up 3.5% yesterday, but it gained another 1.5% overnight. And industrials and financial stocks were outperforming. In Hong Kong, the market, the Hang Seng jumped 129 points, or 0.51%. What was outperforming? You got the outperformance in property and financial stocks. And in China, it was up 0.65%. There's a couple of key catalysts moving ahead that we're paying attention to. There's an industrial production data that's coming out over the weekend, and the China trade talks being held in Stockholm, Sweden next week. Those are two key ones coming up. Then we're turning our attention over to oil, and oil is showing gains. They pull back from, oil was up 1% this morning, but they are pulling back. You get WTI at $65.67 a barrel. You get Brent at $68.88 a barrel. Yesterday, you had the EIA data, which showed a draw of 3.2 million barrels. Now, the forecasts were for a draw of around 800 to 1.6, so that bigger draw is actually positive for oil prices. And oil prices were trading lower yesterday, but they climbed back up in the afternoon, and they were able to finish out with a gain, and they're extending those gains a little bit today. So that's kind of positive action for oil. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update, Emily.
Bill, as you pointed out there in your opening, a number of big catalysts today. You did mention those economic events, data here and data overseas, possible EU trade deals, along with that ECB announcement. Plenty to be watching. We're going to get through all of it. One of the main areas of movement is earnings action. And Bill, you did mention some big companies, not least of which Tesla and Alphabet that did release, and a bunch of companies that we're looking ahead to after the bell today. So let's start with earnings action. Bill, give us a rundown of what is going on there.
So about LabCorp, ticker LH, Larry Henry, they delivered a beat on 18. They delivered a beat of 18 cents. And you look at the stock this morning, it's up 1.79%, and there's going to be, it looks like there's more gains to come on that one. Other stocks releasing earnings like IBM. IBM beat by 15 cents on higher revenue, but it's trading off by 6.66%. You got Tesla, they met expectations, they did it on higher revenue. Tesla's just getting hit. It's down 6.20%. And Google, Alphabet, they beat by 12 cents on higher revenue. You look at Google this morning, it's up 3.49%. So, that's, positive for Google. And in terms of upcoming this afternoon after the bell, you got Deckers Outdoors, ticker DECK. Their EPS is 68 cents. Expected move is 11.13%. You got Intel. Intel's EPS is a penny. Expected move is 7.91%. And tomorrow morning, you got Booz Allen, BAH, Boy Apple Henry. EPS is $1.45. Expected move is 11.48%. I'm a little concerned there, but we'll see. But that's what I have for you in terms of earnings report update, Emily.
Bill, you did mention LabCorp. That was your pick of the day yesterday. Some gains and possibly more to come. We will do a recap on that pick of the day by the end of the show, so stick with us through that. Now, on to the day's economic events. Bill, you did mention at least one key economic factor today here on U.S. soil. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
At 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, we'll get jobless claims. The last week's the claims fell to 221K, which was significantly lower than the forecasts. But I think they'll come in around, it looks like their market's looking for a number of around 227K today. At 9:45 a.m., you get the PMI composite. This is the flash report. This is an early report for July. At 10 a.m., you get new home sales. We'll have to see. I mean, new home sales, expecting to come in with a reading of 645K. The May figures were 623K. Well, we'll have to wait and see how that data comes in. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic update this morning, Emily.
Bill, you'll be grabbing all of those numbers using your economic alert that you set up in your NewsWare. Important to be watching those indicators day in and day out, along with catching all of that earnings action. And you're still keeping track of other news, data, and information, corporate headlines, things coming out of different sectors and segments. You're watching things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together this morning, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
Well, I'm doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 19 lower, 10 higher, 1 unchanged. And the losses in Honeywell and IBM are really infecting the Dow this morning. In terms of the FANG stocks, listen, we're not seeing, a host of negative activity other than Tesla, which is down, 6.2 or 6.12%. Netflix is a little higher, Meta's a little higher, Google's, up 3.6%. Amazon's, up more than 0.5%. Apple's slightly lower. So, you're looking at the news that's affecting the tape, like Apple, remember their earnings are out next week. And that could be something where we're going to keep an eye on that. They're not doing a whole lot on the AI space, really, but they have more cash than anybody. So that could be something there. We'll have to wait and see. Google, listen, stock's up 3.69%. They hiked their capital spending plan for the year to about $85 billion and predicted a further increase next year. Very positive. Then you look at Meta. Meta Platforms is also trading higher. They introduced new safety features aimed at teen users. Good. Tesla, on the other hand, down 6.37%. Elon Musk warned that the next few quarters will be challenging for Tesla. Ooh, I don't see how that's just an ugly statement. And you got to kind of think of what is Tesla? Is it a car company? Is it a taxi company? It's very questionable. But at the end of the day, the revenue really comes from the sale of vehicles. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. We're talking McDonald's, MCD, Michael Charlie David. They're going to test novelty drinks. Okay, they're called dirty sodas. They're flavored cold brews. It's kind of like Coca-Cola with like cream. And they're going to be doing this in like 500 stores starting in September. Microsoft lawmakers asking the Department of Defense for data that Microsoft shared with their Chinese engineers. JP Morgan, U.S. lawmakers subpoenaed JP Morgan and Bank of America over their Chinese battery IPO. In terms of merger news, just want to point out yesterday, a Northern Trust, NTRS CEO came out and said that they are not having takeover talks with any firms. Because recently we said that there were some talks with, Goldman Sachs and Bank of New York, but apparently the CEO saying, no, we're not really entertaining it. We're fine as is. In terms of guidance news, Alaska Air, ticker ALK, they see Q3 adjusted EPS coming in $1 to $1.40. Problem is that the street estimate had it at $1.63. That's a big downtick. Molina Healthcare, MOH. This is also ugly. They view 2025 EPS to come in at least $19. Street estimate is $22.53. So that's a big downtick. American Airlines, they see Q3 EPS coming in negative 10 cents to negative 60 cents. Street estimate was looking for negative penny. So huge downtick. Mobileye, on the other hand, MBLY, Michael Boy, Larry Yellow, they raised their full year 2025 revenue to $1.77 billion to $1.89 billion. Street estimate is $1.79 billion. That's an uptick. MBLY, that's a nice one. In terms of shareholders meeting, WOOF, ticker WOOF. This is Petco. They're having a shareholders meeting today. It starts at 3 p.m. In terms of buyback news, Love, LUV. This is Southwest Airlines. They announced a new $2 billion share repurchasing program. That's good to see. But Bank of America, ticker BAC, their board authorized a $40 billion stock buyback program. $40 billion, BAC. Boy, Apple Charlie. Up about 0.5%. More gains to come likely there. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional NewsWire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, you've been cruising with these picks as of late, so what is your pick of the day today?
I'm going to go with AutoNation, ticker AN, Apple Nancy. Earnings are out tomorrow morning. EPS is $4.57. Expected move is 7.97%. Option volume is light, though. That's what kind of concerns me. But it's positive. I mean, on the call volume, you get 69 calls traded to 40 puts. So the ratio is good. And the open interest, 1,182 calls to 871 puts. That's positive. Major brokers do like the stock. They're raising price targets. That's good to see. But, for me, I want to get in. I think there could be an opportunity to get in between, around 202.50. So somewhere between 202 and 203. I'm hoping for. I don't know if it'll trade that low. That is $2 off from where it is right now. But the spread is is 176.50 to 220. So, there is a possibility. But I do like AutoNation, ticker AN. That's my pick of the day today, Emily. AutoNation AN. I'll say 202.50.
Another earnings play today, Bill, looking at your data points, looking for a specific entry point, sticking with that formula. And coming up, we will see if that formula worked for yesterday's pick of the day. So stick with us. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, sending it back to you.
JD.com, they're in advanced negotiations with the CE Economy. Honeywell says tariff impact well contained so far. That's positive. Eli Lilly and Verve Therapeutics announced expiration date of the Verve tender offer. Ooh, Dow, ticker DOW, David Oscar William, they cut their dividend 50% to 35 cents. It's never good when a company is cutting dividends like that. RCKT, Richard Charlie Kilo Tom, Rocket Pharmaceuticals to reduce workforce by 30%. Japan's prime minister said there's no discrepancies between the U.S. and Japan on rice and defense equipment and trade deal. Walmart's overhauling its AI agent strategy. Biden sells his memoir for roughly 10 million less than Obama and Clinton. Musk says developing new master plan for Tesla. CBOE, Global Markets, to cease Japanese equity operations. Target, TGT, they're going to be ending their price matching policy, as data showed that, there's very minimal price match requests that went on. I mean, they do deliver good pricing, so there's like, we're just going to end it. Okay, AstraZeneca came out with a drug where phase 3 trial met primary endpoints. That's positive. AZN, Apple, Zebra, Nancy. And that's all I have for you this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, but before we dive into Thursday trading, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. We mentioned it earlier in the show, was LabCorp. As you told us during your earnings rundown, they did report earnings this morning. They reported Q2 adjusted EPS of $4.35. It was anywhere from 18 to 19 cents better than the analyst estimates out there. They reported Q2 revenue of $3.53 billion ahead of the consensus of $3.49 billion. The company also guided for an adjusted earnings per share to be in the range of $16.05 to $16.50 in 2025. It had previously forecast earnings between $15.70 a share to $16.40 a share on an adjusted basis. A solid report there, Bill. It's up pretty solidly this morning. How did your call work out?
Hey, listen, it worked out well. I mean, the stock opened up at 254.03 and then it ran to 256.17. So yeah, it was right there. But I was calling for a much lower entry price. I mean, I was thinking, around 251 and a half, which it did. I mean, the stock did close at 250.51. But it was, trading some weakness. I did see some weakness, and I was able to get in it. I was able to get in the stock. What did I get into this stock? 248.97. Then I sold out in the aftermarket, and I was able to get out in the aftermarket at 253, easily beating the 1%. So that waiting to get that lower entry price was really more beneficial. But if you look at the stock today, it's up $4.49 or 1.79% from yesterday's close. So whether you got in at the end at the opening price, or whether you got, you made your 1% if you got an opening price. But if you waited for my entry price, you also made your 1%. So either way, it was a good trade. LabCorp came through yesterday, winner.
A good trade there, Bill, certainly. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's AutoNation pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.